Welcome to my second reading vlog for the month of March, where I am reading mostly text by women, largely horror literature, and today I actually have to tackle two books that debatably don't fit into horror but are both written by women, and I figure I would document this as well. The first book that I have to tackle is for a book club, and this is The Marrow, Thieves by Cherie de Melin. Cherie de Melin is a Métis writer that actually has lived in my area where I live, and the story is set sort of in the GTA, working towards like Georgian Bay area, which is kind of cool. This debatably fits into horror. I have heard it described as the dystopian now, so it is post-apocalyptic. It's not like traditionally horror in like the genre fiction sense of the word, but the premise of the story, which is that non-Indigenous folks have lost the ability to dream. There has been like a global climate crisis, water shortage, war. Indigenous folks are being hunted for their bone marrow because Indigenous folks still have, I guess the mythology here is that the webbing in the marrow of the bones holds dreams, and if you can't dream, you will go crazy. And so Indigenous folks are being hunted and having their bone marrow harvested by white folks in a system that is very similar to the residential school system. In terms of the treatment of Indigenous folks, pretty horrific. In terms of climate crisis, pretty horrific. I don't think this is intended to be horror, but I'm including it in this vlog because of that. I am also working on Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarzuk. She's Polish, I'm pretty sure. I borrowed it from work, and so I have to read this as well. So I'm going to include that at the beginning of this vlog, at the beginning of this week, and we'll see where that goes. And then I'm also still plugging away at Monster, She Wrote, The Women Who Pioneered Horror and Speculative Fiction by Lisa Kruger and Melanie R. Anderson. And the human that we are going to learn about today comes from part 4 of this book, The Women Who Wrote the Pulps. Maybe I should read the introduction, and then we'll learn about Margaret St. Clair. So Margaret St. Clair, 1911 to 1995, was a very prolific author, apparently. The thing is, pulp magazines, pulp paperbacks made these stories accessible. It meant that more people could bring them into their homes. The problem, though, was that pulp paper decomposed really quickly. We don't have a lot of these original pulp texts left if they were not well taken care of. A lot of the preserved pulp writers, like H.P. Lovecraft, for example, their stories were anthologized, and that's how they were preserved. Unfortunately, a lot of the women writing have just been lost to time, especially because a lot of these pulp magazines changed hands, they changed ownership. And when they changed ownership, nobody really cared about keeping that magazine's backlog of inventory correct, preserved, whatever. So there have been many authors lost to time, and a lot of them are women because it was the men that were being anthologized, not the women. There has been quite a bit of like archival recovery work to try and find these women, so it's not that women weren't writing pulp science and speculative fiction, it's just that you have to dig through like footnotes and people's personal letters to find them. One of the people who they have been able to recover is Margaret St. Clair. She is actually credited in the Dungeon Master's Guide because Gary Gygax, one of the pioneering game designers, included her in the appendix of the Dungeon Master's Guide. He has used some of her works as inspiration for creating his world. Quote, "For a long time, this footnote, written more than a decade after St. Clair's death, was one of the few enduring traces of her extensive catalog of stories. Fortunately, contemporary editors and authors are working to revive interest in her work. the way her work is being described is like pandemics and bio-warfare apocalypse meets Dungeons and Dragons and witchcraft. And it sounds kind of bonkers, and like I would love to find a copy and see for myself. So that was Margaret St. Clair. I suspect that it is very, very nice out, so I think I'm gonna slather on some sunscreen and sit out on the deck for a little bit with both of these. We'll just, I'll start with one, see how I'm feeling, and then go from there. Look at that blue sky. It's nice, right, Mr. Farbles? Are you enjoying the sun? Yeah? So, I'm gonna start with The Marrow Thieves by Sherry DeMolane. I finished The Marrow Thieves, and it was so good. I cried at 2 points, which I haven't done in a very long time with a book. The plot of the book is not super substantial. It's people on the run. I've been trying to process all afternoon because I read the majority of it outside. There should be a little clip of me desperately trying to enjoy the warmer weather. Still in my parka, but also sunglasses, a baseball cap, and like sunscreen. So, you know, I'm wishing for spring. Now I think it is almost 7 o'clock, so I have to go to bed in like 40 minutes. So I think I'm gonna work a little bit on Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of My Dead. Hopefully once my thoughts are more like fully formed on The Marrow Thieves, I will talk to you more about it. But for now, I just need to let it percolate. All right, so this is day 2 of my next Women in Horror reading vlog. I'm filming on my phone for this one because I just filmed a huge video. I filmed a Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets film commentary for my guinea pig patrons, and all of the memory cards are full, all of the batteries are dead, and I actually ended up finishing that video on my phone as well. I suspect that if I want to keep doing film videos, I might have to buy another memory card. I already have 2. I didn't think I would ever be that person that has to buy more than one, or just buy one of the ridiculously huge ones that I never thought I would need. I am going to pick away at a bunch of things today. Huzzah for unflattering angles. I'm going to be looking at myself in the viewfinder, obviously. Also, Monster She Wrote. We're going to check out another lady who pioneered horror and speculative fiction. The wonderful human that I'm learning about today is Catherine Lucille Moore. I am going to check out the short story collection from Shirley Jackson, The Lottery and Other Stories. And then I still have to work on Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk. I've decided that C is silent. That's like Matt Zuckery from the Gilmore Girls. I've decided the C is silent. Let's learn about a rad lady. So apparently, the space pirate that Moore invented, folks credit as the prototype for science fiction scoundrels like Han Solo and Malcolm Reynolds of Firefly. That's pretty rad. All right, so now I'm going to check out some Shirley Jackson. Today is the 11th of March. I have been very inconsistent with the vlog because I haven't been reading every day. It is 1:15 in the afternoon. I just edited the vlog and made the note for myself that I need to be better with context because I can vlog at various points in the day and like it feels very different to me, but I'm dressed exactly the same and like I'm jumping from one thing to the other. So I feel like I need to be better with context. That being said, my video is rendering. I've had lunch and I think I might DNF Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk. I read the narrator, Yanina, explain astrology and how she used astrology to predict the date of her own death and how like her neighbor is like never gonna believe her because he's a Libra that had Pluto out and about while when he was born or something like that, and I could literally give 0 fucks about astrology. I'm sorry if it's your jam. I know it's a lot of people's jam. I do not care about astrology at all. Never have, probably never will, and I can't do it. I was down for her collecting dead animals. I was down for her like viewing herself and animals as like on equal footing. That sounded cool. I really wanted to see where the title came into play. But there has been, in the first like 50 pages, because I've given it 50 pages, which I feel like is fair for like any book that you read. If you give it about 50 pages and like you're still not into it, you're probably not gonna get more into it. I'm sorry, I can't. What am I gonna do instead? I'm gonna read about one of the women from the Women of Horror, like that obnoxious green book that I've been reading from, because that's really fun. And then I'm debating between starting The Stand versus Carmen Maria Machado. I want to give myself enough time to read The Stand, but I also kind of don't want to stick Stephen King in the middle of a bunch of reading vlogs that are supposed to be about women. If I do read The Stand, I don't think I'm going to include any thoughts on it in this vlog. I will do that and check in with you guys in a little bit. We interrupt this reading vlog because my box of yarn from Michael's has arrived, and I swear to God I could curl up inside this box once the yarn's not inside it and fit in it. I didn't realize that 10 balls of yarn would be physically this much, so I'm very overwhelmed. I fit in the box my yarn came in, and I'm an adult. Today is Saturday, March 14th. I went to work this morning, did some magazines, and now it is time for another reading vlog. First human I have here is Mary Elizabeth Counselman, 1911 to 1995. She's apparently a Deep South storyteller, so I'm gonna learn a little bit about her and then come back to you in a minute. Mary Elizabeth Counselman grew up on a plantation in the American South, and that very much informs her particular brand of storytelling, horror storytelling. Her most well-known piece is one called The Three Marked Pennies. There is one coin to bring wealth, one to travel, and one for death. And each of them bears a mysterious mark, a cross, a circle, and a square, and no one knows what coin grants which fate. Does this not sound like the Deathly Hallows, except make the triangle a square? Apparently another story that she's well known for is called The Seventh Sister, which is about an albino African-American girl with occult powers, and it's apparently a very empathetic depiction of a racial minority from the 1940s Deep South, so a pretty rare and unusual thing for the time and the place. I think it might be interesting to read that as well. I'm moving on to the main course, which is In the Dream House, a memoir by Carmen Maria Machado. This is her memoir of surviving an abusive same-sex relationship, I believe. It shows up on horror lists, even though this isn't fiction. Now it is playing with form. There is some formal innovation happening here for a memoir, and I think maybe that's why it appears on horror lists, but we shall see, because this doesn't quite fit like fiction. It's not fiction. As you can see, I've started already. I'm about 46, I'm not about 46, I am 46 pages in. I'm curious to see where this goes. I'm curious to see what the horror elements are, or like why it's been put on these horror lists. I will check in with you in a little bit. I'm a liar. It is now March 18th. Between the end of that last clip, where I said I would check in with you about Carmen Maria Machado's In the Dream House, and today, shit got really real. Like, really uncomfortably real with the state of the world, the state of the pandemic that's happening. I put down the horror literature in exchange for Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, so I don't have any conclusion to this vlog that wraps up thoughts on Carmen Maria Machado. But now that my work has closed down, we were working up until yesterday the 17th, it was tense to be in a public space that, books aren't necessary. Like, we're not providing food. I'm sure most people have entertainment in their houses. Like, if you're a bookish person, I'm sure you have shit to read. And if not, you probably have Netflix or cable if you're still doing cable, or access to the internet, right? Like, there are so many ways to entertain yourself that I was struggling with the decision to not come into work, because we definitely had that option. They weren't forcing us to come in, but I was struggling with the decision to voluntarily say no to a paycheck versus the social distancing that everyone was recommending. And thankfully they made that call for us yesterday, and I think I finally unclenched my jaw. Like, between the end of that clip you just watched and the 17th, I didn't realize it, but I was so tense. Like, by the end of every day, my neck and my shoulders and my jaw, everything, like, I'd be scrolling and my whole face was tense. I feel like I can, like, breathe and relax for the first time in a while and pick up some of these projects. It's really unfortunate that I planned horror for March and The Stand for March. I feel a lot more mentally able to take both of those things on now that I am in a position to socially isolate. Like, work has said don't show up. We are not open. So while there is no satisfying conclusion to this vlog, the book club that was supposed to meet for the Marrow Thieves got canceled. We're going to meet online this weekend opposed to in person. I still have Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. I didn't have an opportunity to return it to work. While I DNF'd it that one day when I was, like, really frustrated, maybe I'll return back to it, because, like, I've let that astrology thing go in the meantime. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on any of these books in the comments down below. Let me know how you're doing. If you can afford to support me on Patreon, the link's in the description box down below. I am very, very thankful to my patrons who have pledged to support me at this time. It does mean a lot. But I also totally understand that this is going to be a time that is stressful for a lot of folks who aren't working. Wash your hands. We're going to get through this. Happy reading, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.